Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a topic that is literally an absolute non-negotiable for Cambridge AS and A level accounting. We're talking about liquidity ratios, specifically the current ratio and the asset test ratio. Now, look, if you're aiming to crack those top marking bands, just memorizing the formulas is not going to cut it. It's just not. You actually need to understand how to weaponize these formulas in your analysis. If you don't step back and think strategically like an examiner, you are going to bleed marks on questions you actually know the answers to, and we definitely don't want that. I want you to really listen to this quote, pulled straight out of the official Cambridge Principal Examiner reports. It says, "The classic mistake is providing generic answers not specific to the question context." Think about it from the examiner's perspective. They are reading thousands, literally thousands, of scripts where candidates just regurgitate standard textbook definitions. A student will write something like, "The current ratio measures short-term debt-paying ability," and then they just stop. Sure, that earns you baseline marks, but it completely tanks your potential for a distinction. To unlock those highest grades, you absolutely must link every single point back to the specific scenario they gave you. The context changes the entire meaning of the ratio, every single time. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we're cracking the examiner's code. Second, we'll hit the core principles of liquidity. Third, we'll break down the procedural framework. Fourth, we're mastering comparative analysis. And finally, we'll wrap up with the top 3 examiner warnings to keep you out of trouble. All right, part 1, cracking the examiner's code, specifically looking at command word anatomy. Okay, imagine you flip the page of your exam paper, and boom, there's a massive 15-mark question staring right back at you. It is incredibly easy to panic and get totally overwhelmed. But the secret to tackling these beasts lies in the hidden instructions masked as really simple verbs. We call them the command words. If you see words like analyze or explain, they're testing your baseline knowledge and application. They want descriptive responses where you basically break down the data and show your calculations. But, and this is a massive but, command words like evaluate or to what extent demand higher order thinking. They don't just want the math. They want you to weigh the evidence, consider alternative perspectives, identify the limitations of the data, and provide a fully justified recommendation. You basically have to step out of the calculator and step into the boardroom. Moving on to part 2. The core principles of liquidity. Let's deconstruct this a bit. Picture 2 different scholars, let's call them Alex and Sam. They are sitting in a study suite looking at the exact same liquidity question. Now, Alex is super technical. Alex writes down a perfect definition, current assets divided by current liabilities, punches the numbers, gets the formula right, and stops there. A purely factual approach. But then Sam, who is more of a big picture thinker, chimes in and argues for a broader perspective. Sam realizes that these numbers mean absolutely nothing without the business context. Sam is the one who unlocks the top-tier marking bands because Sam integrates liquidity with other areas of the syllabus. For instance, Sam asks, well, if a company's liquidity is failing right now, how is that going to impact their ability to raise long-term capital tomorrow? Or how does their specific inventory valuation method skew this current ratio? The whole theoretical architecture of liquidity rests on these causal relationships. You have to connect the dots, just like Sam does, to hit those higher assessment objectives. You know why multi-stage analysis feels so incredibly hard under the pressure of a ticking clock? It's because students have this intense laser focus purely on the final answer. Let's say you calculate the ratio is 1.5 to 1, but you made a tiny, silly arithmetic error along the way, and you rate down 1.4 to 1. If you didn't show your workings, you score a 0. Ouch. This brings us to what I call the method mark strategy. This is your ultimate cheat code. Marks are aggressively awarded for your process, your logical reasoning, and your clear workings. So write down the raw formula, show the examiner the exact substitution of the figures, then provide the final answer. Even if you completely botch that final calculation, a clear step-by-step layout captures marks for procedural logic. You're basically hunting for method marks. All right, part 3, the procedural framework and overcoming roadblocks. Okay, wait, real quick. Before we actually solve the hardest part of this problem, let's talk about the biggest roadblock you're going to face: analysis paralysis. You know that feeling when you're staring at the clock and you suddenly realize you've burned 20 minutes on a 12-mark question? Yeah, it's the worst. To fix that, you need an internal alarm bell. But before I give you the exact standardized routine to beat the clock, I need you to do something for me. Hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE ONA levels. That's at acetheexam_IGCS. Turn on all your notifications so you literally never miss our weekly Cambridge Breakthrough Strategies. Seriously, do it right now. Okay, let's get back to getting you unstuck. If you want to transform a messy, time-wasting answer into a flawless, full-mark response, you need to follow these 6 steps religiously. Step 1, deconstruct the question. Circle that command word we talked about and identify the business context. Step 2, extract the data. Pull only the relevant figures so you aren't distracted. Step 3, select your framework. Decide exactly which ratios are actually needed here. Step 4, execute clear notation. Show those workings to secure your method marks. Step 5, verify the results. Just pause and ask, does this ratio make logical sense for this specific industry? And finally, step 6, present with terminology. Frame your entire analysis using proper professional accounting vocabulary. Let's actually see this framework in action using some year 1 and year 2 data. Okay, for year 1, our current ratio is our current assets of 450 divided by current liabilities of 300. Simple enough. That gives us 1.5 to 1. Now the acid test takes that 450, subtracts the 180 of inventory, leaving us with 270. 270 divided by 300 gives us 0.9 to 1. Make sense? Now let's look at year 2. Current assets rise to 520 divided by current liabilities of 400. That gives us a current ratio of 1.3 to 1. But watch what happens with the acid test. We take the 520 minus a massive 250 in inventory, leaving just 270 in liquid assets. 270 divided by 400 drops us to 0.675 to 1. Do you see the dynamic happening here? The current ratio looks okay-ish, but the acid test reveals a severe, glaring liquidity crisis developing in year 2 because so much capital is suddenly tied up in inventory. Which brings us perfectly into part 4, Mastering Comparative Analysis. Let's do a quick interactive workshop. Here is a 60-second challenge for you. Think about this. We just saw that massive jump in inventory in year 2, up to $250,000. But what if that inventory is obsolete? What if it's outdated tech or out-of-season clothing that literally cannot be sold at its book value? How does that specific assumption affect the validity of our ratios? Well, if the inventory is obsolete, that current ratio of 1.3 to 1 is creating a totally false sense of security because it's assuming that all that inventory can be converted to cash quickly. It can't. The acid test ratio strips that dangerous assumption away entirely. When you evaluate the quality of the evidence like this, it proves to the examiner that you truly understand the real-world limitations of financial metrics. Let's play a quick game of spot the flaw in how students write this out. A generic, poorly written answer simply observes the data. It'll say something like, the current ratio decreased, which is bad for liquidity. The acid test ratio also decreased. Ouch. That has absolutely zero connective evidence. It is just a superficial observation. But a top-tier, context-specific answer dives so much deeper. It sounds like this. While both ratios indicate declining liquidity, the dramatic fall in the acid test ratio to 0.675 to 1 suggests a heavy reliance on inventory turnover to meet short-term debts. If a portion of this inventory is obsolete, the firm's actual liquidity position is far more severe than the current ratio implies. See the difference? That second answer identifies the nuances, justifies its conclusions, and links perfectly to the context. That is how you get top marks. Finally, part 5, the top 3 examiner warnings so you can avoid the traps. Okay, we are in the home stretch. Here are the 3 major pitfalls pulled directly from the examiner reports. Warning number 1. Answers are way too vague. Writing liquidity improved gets you nothing. Writing the acid test ratio improved by 0.2, indicating a stronger ability to clear current liabilities without relying on inventory sales, now that gets the marks. Examiners want specific, data-backed details. Warning number 2. Forgetting to check format and presentation. Ratios must be presented correctly, almost always as a ratio to 1, like 1.5:1. Don't just write 1.5. Warning 3. Providing generic answers not specific to the context. Listen, if the scenario is about a perishable food business, your analysis of their inventory liquidity absolutely must reflect the fact that their goods literally rot. Context is everything. So, to make sure you don't fall victim to these traps when you're sweating under the exam lights, I want you to use a simple memory hack. It's the acronym FACT. Fact. F stands for format. Always double-check your presentation. A stands for accuracy. Show your method workings to guarantee those procedural marks. C stands for context. Link every single insight to the specific business scenario. And T stands for terminology. Use professional, precise accounting language. Writing FACT at the very top of your exam page basically forces you to remember the specific factors the examiners are grading you on. Let's synthesize this whole explainer into 3 core pillars of exam mastery. If you want structural precision and perfect time allocation, memorize these. Pillar 1, the 3-step question scan. Read the command word, highlight the business context, and identify the required ratios before you even touch a calculator. Pillar 2, the paragraph balance formula. Every single analytical paragraph you write must contain a calculation, an interpretation, and a contextual piece of evidence, no exceptions. Pillar 3, the last 5 minutes review checklist. You must reserve the final 5 minutes of your exam purely to verify formats, check ratio structures, and ensure your final evaluation actually answers the specific command word prompt. Look, crushing Cambridge exams isn't just about raw intelligence. It is about consistent, ruthless strategy. You have the tools now. You understand the examiner's mindset. The target is totally clear. The only question left is, are you going to let a generic, lazy definition cost you your distinction, or are you going to use the context to secure your target grade? Make sure you hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on that notification bell for more exam hacks. And drop a comment down below with your target grade right now so we can hold you to it. See you in the next one.